Bernard here. I hope you're all staying safe and well, and welcome to the Film and TV channel. I'm going over to Netflix today to have a look at a recent premiered superhero series on Netflix. It was premiered on the 7th of May 2021. So join me today. I was going to get some information from other people, some reviews from other people, reviews from myself, and put them all together to see what people are thinking about this new 8-episode series called Jupiter's Legacy. Please, if you're new to the channel, push that subscribe button, push the bell notifications. If you enjoy what you see, I try and inform and entertain, as I said, taking information from various sources, plus adding my own little twist and my own little thoughts to it as well. And if you look at the playlist, you'll see lots of reviews on TV dramas, information vlogs on DVD releases, UK cinema releases. Yes, I can say that now. I've just recorded my very first for a long time. Of what's going on at the cinema, so please check those playlists. You'll also see some stuff on my football team, Manchester City, as well. If that's of any interest. If it's not, don't worry about it. But if you or you know anyone who might be interested in it, I do lots of things on Manchester City, past and present, quizzes, book clubs, lots of different things, magazine, vlogs, etc. So please, if you know anyone at all who might be interested, if you're not yourself. But don't worry, if you're not bothered with that, there's enough film and TV, and obviously on Facebook and Twitter I post loads of stuff and repost stuff and retweet and like and share lots of stuff on films and TV. So if you're after any followers, just follow the links on screen, and I do check every 2 or 3 days and follow and friend everyone back on there. And all comments are welcome on this series, Jupiter's Legacy, of course, or anything you want to talk about, film and TV, doesn't matter. If you don't have time to leave us a comment today, just give us a little thumbs up if you enjoy what we do or what I do. It's only we, it's the royal we, yes, what I do, yes. There's no big team behind me, obviously you can tell from this, can't you? Right, yeah, Jupiter's Legacy, yeah, a superhero television series created by Stephen S. DeKnight, based on, of course, the Image comic book series by Mark Miller and Frank Quietly. It premiered on Netflix, as I said, on May the 7th, 2021. Follows the story of the world's first superheroes who received their powers in the 1930s. I did like that side of it. I thought it's been done before, of course, but I just did quite like that, going back into the 1929 and the Wall Street crash, etc. I did find that interesting. Probably more interesting than perhaps some of the things later on in the actual series, but there you go. In the present day, they are the revered elder guard, but their superpowered children struggle to live up to their legendary feats of their parents. Josh, all the stars in this. Josh Duhamel is Sheldon Sampson, the utopian, Grace's husband, Walter's younger brother, and the Union superhero team leader. Ben Daniels is Walter Sampson, Brainwave, Sheldon's older brother, possessing telepathic abilities, having predicted the Great Crash, but was ignored. Oh, shit, there you go. He begrudgingly aids his brother's quest in 1933, which granted him and the party their superpowers, while maintaining a public appreciation for Sheldon. Leslie Bibb as Grace Kennedy Sampson, Lady Liberty, Sheldon's wife and one of the most powerful heroes on the planet. Originally a reporter who printed Chester Sampson's death. Yeah, it didn't start off very well, but they got together in the end. She accompanied Sheldon to document the journey, which then granted them superpowers. Andrew Horton as Brandon Sampson, the paragon, Grace and Sheldon's son, struggling to live up to his father's ideals, don't we all? Eleanor Campuris as Chloe Sampson, Grace and Sheldon's rebellious daughter. Yes, it's just a normal family relationships, lapsing into drugs and partying. She enjoys herself. Why not? Is it any good? Well, Rotten Tomatoes didn't particularly like it, no. An approval rating of just 36%, which isn't great, is it? Based on 28 critics' reviews, with average rating of 5.48 out of 10, so just below that magical, watchable score of, say, 6 out of 10. The consensus of the website reads, despite some truly epic fights, Jupiter's Legacy is simply too overstuffed and slow-moving to land many narrative punches. I would totally agree with that. The audience Rotten Tomatoes, yeah, I liked it a bit more, 62%. Metacritic, the other critic site, gave the series a weighted average of 45 out of 100. That's just based on 14 critics, and just 2 gave it a positive review, 7 mixed and 5 negative, and it scores anywhere between 20 out of 100 and 75 out of 100. Rolling Stone's Alan Sepinwall on May the 7th only gave it 20 out of 100. He said, it is a dullifying mess of a show on pretty much every level. It's meant to be viewed with utmost seriousness, yet it feels like a parody where someone forgot to insert the jokes. Brian Lowry gave it 5 out of 10 on May the 7th for the CNN. He said, for a series about superheroes, Jupiter's Legacy moves in what feels like slow motion. The result is a Netflix drama that's impressive in its scope, adding to the growing roster of dark comic book tales, but frustrating in its sluggish pacing, oscillating between twin timelines over the course of its 8 initial episodes. Again, not a lot I can argue with about that. But Brian Tellerico from RogerEbert.com, again on May the 7th, he gave it 70 out of 100. He was one of the high, well, it was sort of the high score. So much of the 8 episodes in this first season, he says, are dedicated to telling parallel origin stories that can sometimes get weighed down, with the burden of that structure. But there are interesting themes weaved through this adaptation of the comic series of the same name. Internet Movie Database, Joe Public, you, me, the viewing public. What did they think? Well, they quite liked it. 6.9 out of 10, which isn't a bad score. That's based on over 3,000 reviews as I'm recording this on the 8th of May 2021. That's based on 3,139 reviews. And a couple of the comments. RJ Brez on the 8th of May gave it 8 out of 10 and said much better than it will get credit for. He went on to say, a great cast, a solid story. I was worried when I knew Netflix was in charge of this project, but overall I'm impressed. Think for yourself. Most of the wannabe film critics on here think negativity is cool and they won't give things an honest chance. If you enjoy this genre, you will enjoy this show. Joe Tucan on the 8th of May 2021. He only gave it 5 out of 10, a middling score. Good but bad, his comment. Don't get me wrong, I kind of like this, but it kind of falls flat. I know where he's coming from. The super suits look awful, a bit daft, and the whole concept of its superheroes, but it's dark and grim, has been done better multiple times the past year. It probably has. They could have done something original with its story, but choose not to. And Rafik Badello on the 8th of May 2021. The hype is not real. He only gave it 4 out of 10 and said, unsurprisingly, this was a dull, uninspiring drama fest with thin, generic plot lines and uninteresting characters. And the acting, seriously, where did they find these guys? I didn't think it was that bad. Jupiter's Legacy tries so hard to copy the formula of recent, obviously superior superhero shows, but fails to do its own thing. I wouldn't be surprised if it had the same writers as the CW shows. Well, there you go. About my little thoughts. As I say, it's interesting. Most of those comments I've just read out from various sources. I would have to echo some of that, to be honest with you. I found it a very odd series. I'm sure it's not aimed at younger viewers, because and I'm not sort of sure what demographic it is particularly aimed at, but younger viewers, it's all too wordy, and it's sort of, they will get bored waiting for any action sequences. So it's certainly not for the younger viewer. As I said, very, very wordy, very wordy heavy this. It's very character driven as well, which I like. I like character driven things. Chemistry has to work, you have to have likeable characters, etc. But personally, I didn't find really anyone in this series that I sort of felt that interested or cared about. Perhaps one or two, but I mean, overall, they throw that many characters at you that I just couldn't connect with anyone particular, which means I can't really invest in what's happening on the screen, whether good or bad, as to whether I want these people to sort of get through this or not, to be honest with you, which isn't great in a character-driven series like this. As said before, the actual series is in 2 parts. There's the origin side, which is quite interesting. I said it kicks off in Wall Street, the Wall Street crash, which I found, certainly for the first 3 or 4 episodes, very interesting. But we then get the here and now as well. Some people have said they grew into this and enjoyed it as it progressed. I actually thought it got worse as it went along. I sort of enjoyed the first 3 or 4 episodes, and it sort of it's got a little bit boring for me, to be honest with most. There's odd bits in it, it was okay, but I found I lost interest as the thing got further along rather than grew into it, which you do with most series. Most series you get off to a slow start and build up to a climax, don't they? But this sort of never really climaxed for me. I just don't know where, certainly if there is going to be a second season, it didn't sort of grip me waiting for a conclusion to this one. it all got bogged down a little bit in monologues and really a lack of real story development. Yeah, to fill the episodes, it throws a lot of characters in the mix, but this just sort of dilutes the stories and dilutes the chemistry. To be honest, I just didn't. I thought so many characters are just far too many. It should have just kept them to a reasonable amount. I mean, you know, instead of having 30 characters, just have 15 or something, you know, something like that. It does to me felt a little bit of a highbrow version of The Boys. So sort of obviously another recent thing that I did enjoy watching. But sadly, it's not. I like to be entertained. It's just not as entertaining as that. You know, it does have the odd quirky moment, but it's certainly not as entertaining as that sort of super or bad anti-superhero story, because they're not all good guys, are they? Let's be honest about it. It's a series that has all the right production values. They got everything together right, but unfortunately they forgot to give us a good story that would keep us interested, and jeopardy and stuff to keep us on the edge of our seats waiting from episode to episode to see how things develop. We never got that, even though yeah, it was production wise and looking at it was okay, and the fight scenes were pretty good. Nothing wrong with the fight scenes, just as good as any I've seen from Marvel or DC, etc, etc. I mean, I think within this is probably an okay 4-episode miniseries, but this is 8 episodes, don't forget, probably 8 by 50-ish minutes. And it's, to me, just ended up being very pretty to watch, the okay moment, but got a little tiring and monotonous at times. As I said, certainly as the thing progressed, to say by episode 4 I was okay with it, but by episode 8 I was getting a bit tired and weary of it on the binge watch I did. Perhaps it may have been better if I hadn't binge watched it. Perhaps I could have watched it in 2 or 3 goes, I'm not too sure, but it didn't really fit with the binge watching for me anyway. Will I wait eagerly for the second season? As I said, not particularly. If we get one, there's nothing else to binge watch on, I'll probably watch it. But it's all a little bit of a meh for me, all a little bit of middle of the road. So I'm not going to be a total downer on it. I'm going to give it my score that's not quite my watchable score, but I won't put anyone off, because as I said, there were bits in it that were okay. And as I said, it's you know, perhaps if you watch an episode or 2 at a time rather than binge watch it, it might be a little bit more enjoyable. Try that rather than binge. If you know, some people don't binge watch anyway, do they? You only watch an episode as and when, so that it may be better for that. But for me, it didn't quite work. So I'm going to give it a rating of 5.5 out of 10, which isn't a total disaster. It's not far out to some of the other reviews there, but a little bit down on the Internet Movie Database, 6.9 out of 10, which I think is a bit high. I wanted it to be that, but as I said, I'm sure with a bit of better editing and perhaps a little bit of a shorter series, it would have been a bit more enjoyable for me. But yeah, I'll give it a 5.5 out of 10. Anyway, let me know what you think. As I say, it's all opinions, isn't it? As I say, it wasn't quite something I like. I mean, The Boys, for instance, I can't remember what I scored that, but that must be up there between 7 and 8 for The Boys, and this is a way down on that, unfortunately. Although it does try, as I say, it does try to be just a little bit cleverer than The Boys, but it doesn't quite work. Anyway, what we're going to do with that today, have a great one. Look after yourselves, look after your friends, look after your families. More important, let's all look after each other. Till we meet here again on the Film and TV channel, or perhaps have a flit across, have a look at my Citizen channel, my football channel. All I ever ask of you is please stay safe, everyone. Thanks so much for watching. Bye for now.